The mist started to clear as I reached a steep slope. I momentarily looked down, then glanced back as I heard more clamors. I jumped down, my body slightly angled. I staggered awkwardly as I landed, trying not to hit a tree or trip on a root. Did I get away? And the others? Remembering that I still had the box, I knelt down and hastily unlatched it. I opened it and inhaled sharply. Inside were beautiful long objects that resembled shale with an emerald sheen. These were exactly like Kara's ears. Underneath were hard flint stones and beautiful grooves and ridges. Scales? This is bad. And it was possible that it wasn't just a one-time delivery. If the first carriage had also carried dragon remains, this could be a full-fledged underground trading route. How long had this been going on? How did the knights not know? Wouldn't they check the contents? Unless... I shut the box, pushing it underneath a shrub for now. Before standing up, I would have to inform Kara and Omari. Ooh. Before I could take another step, the earth suddenly erupted. A large fissure ruptured at my feet, causing me to fall back. Ah! Showered in dirt, I coughed and trembled uncontrollably, unable to stand up. Not so reckless now, are you? Dervishi stood up about 20 paces away, his tame peddler appearance replaced by a sinister countenance. What? How did you... Casually resting on his shoulder was a mace, decorated with spikes that resembled hard tissues, namely, bones and oversized teeth. Clamoring for a tree, I unsteadily got up. You'll be surprised how much power dragon bones can grant to you. Everything is permeated with magic, even long after they die. Why are you doing this? Who are you delivering these remains to? One moment. He snorted and rolled his eyes. Please, I'm not going to explain everything just because you asked. Now return the box, or you'll be left unharmed. Now where did you put it? I unsheathed my sword and widened my stance, hoping not to falter now. I'm not handing it over. Pity, I hate searching. Lifting the mace, he slammed it onto the ground. Another chasm opened up and I screamed, my body paralyzed by every vibration. It was then that I heard a loud creak behind me. I glanced up in terror. One of the trees had become unstable, and it groaned as it started to lean heavily. Dervishi pointed the mace at me threateningly. Move, and the next attack will crush you. I unsteadily stood up, but stayed in my place. My legs felt so weak I probably couldn't walk if I tried. The sound of footsteps was heard, and I prayed it was my friends. Instead, 4 of the original 7 knights joined Dervishi. They glanced at each other hesitantly, obviously baffled by the situation, but obediently aligned themselves before the merchant. She's the one who ran off with the goods. I don't know who she's working for, but since she's refusing to cooperate, give it back and we won't hold this action against you. Wait, I'm not betraying anyone. The box had dragon remains. It's sacrilegious to move them. Their souls can't return to... Be quiet. We know what we're delivering, and it's just a silly superstition. Superstition? What you're doing is discourteous to dragon kind. Aren't you a KIT? Why are you disobeying orders? Do you want to throw away your chance to become a full knight? One of the other knights sighed and tried speaking to me more gently. Don't you think you're being too impulsive here? You're obviously young, with a lot of pressure onto your name. Don't do something rash and tarnish the Argent Valerie's reputation and with your disloyalty. It's our duty as knights to carry out our mission with the guild and client's best interests in mind. No, I'm doing what's more important. This is for both Dragonkind and Heavenkind's sake. I'm not surrendering those remains. Sensing that my resolve would not yield, the knights brandished their weapons at me. Then I'll just have to report to the guild that you got caught in an unfortunate accident. Smirking, Dervishi slammed his weapon into the ground. Two more times. Each shock washed over me, rendering me motionless. There was an ear-splitting crack as the tree began to topple. Aura! Omari's desperate voice suddenly shifted into a growl, and a large turquoise body sailed over me. A section of Omari's long neck slammed into the thick trunk as he halted its fall. His tail thrashed as he roared, straining against the weight. Omari was a water dragon. He couldn't move on land effectively, and he had essentially pinned himself to protect me. Omari! His large face turned to me. His expression was unreadable in dragon form, but even I could sense his concern. I'm fine, and you were right about what the box contained. The knight seemed to waver, baffled by the dragon's presence. Slay that dragon! Consider this out of self-defense, and you will be paid tenfold for its corpse. Don't be scared. Look at how helpless it is. Oh, he's so mean. Omari snarled, but his only real weapon was his teeth and tail, and he was immobile. He couldn't transfer back either, else he risked being flattened by the tree. Where was Care? I altered my stance, inviting the knights to take me on. With numbers on their side, they advanced towards me until one of the more impatient ones broke from her position. I dashed forwards, swinging my sword as it met the first knight. She parried and thrust her sword forward. I sidestepped but had to duck as an axe soared over me. Wait, knights are supposed to fight one-on-one! Ugh! I spun around and kicked the axeman on the back of the knee. I knew I was dealing with warriors more experienced than me. Maybe I could hold my own in an individual fight, but my minor victory was short-lived when I felt a hot pain sear my left arm. I hissed in pain, realizing that I had received a shallow cut from a blade. Blood trickled down my elbow. A moment of hesitation left me open. I barely blocked another attack. The axemen and the swordsmen were overwhelming me. I had frantically tried to keep them at bay. With each swing, their weapons grew dangerously closer, and each blow reverberated up on my sword arm. There was a second crimson spray as a steel blade bit into my torso, and I cried out. Mari's roar was deafening, and suddenly the axeman was hit with a full blast of water, causing him to topple over. Aurelie, stay near me! Oh, I guess it sounds different, but well, his guttural voice startled me since I had no idea he could talk in his dragon form. Looking back, I saw Amari was urgently stretching out his neck out in an attempt to shield me, his fangs fully bared. I retreated closer to him, and my three opponents surrounded me. One sprinted towards Omari, who was focused on another knight, aiming his sword at the dragon's neck. No! I blocked his attack, trying not to buckle under the strain. Forcing my full weight forward, I managed to push him back. I heard swift footsteps a second later, and the knight I was fighting suddenly flew back from a hasty punch. Care! He flashed me a confident grin. Sorry, he's preoccupied with a few others. There'll be no reinforcements after this. Yeah. 2 down, 3 to go, including Dervishi. Care glanced back and spotted Amari, and his face flickered in pain. I gestured to the merchant and his mace. Care, stop him now! The weapon causes earthquakes! Care charged ahead, but was blocked by another swordsman. The other knight, who possessed a flail, focused on me. Although the flail's range was short, its battering power was enough to make me wary. As I dodged an attack, I stepped back, and my foot found nothing but air. Nearly tumbling, I dived to the side to avoid falling into the chasm, leaving me vulnerable. Before I could roll away, the dirt beside me burst, as the steel ball slammed down inches from my head. Discarding the sword, I grabbed the chain before the knight could raise his weapon and wrench it out of his grip. He stumbled towards me as I rotated to my back. With a well-aimed kick to his stomach, he staggered back. I quickly retrieved my sword and scrambled up. Desperate, he vaulted for his weapon, but a strong stream of water from Amari caused him to topple into the chasm. Care had already incapacitated his opponent, leaving only Dervishi, who had retreated enough to be out of Almari's attack range. We caught up to him. If you cast aside your weapon, no one will get hurt. Were you simply following orders? If I turn you in. Me? Turned in? You were the one who stole a merchant's goods. There's no penalty for possessing dragon remains. The other knights will report what happened, and you'll be stripped of your rank and... He recklessly slammed his mace into the ground, unsympathetic to the unconscious or wounded knights around him. Terrified, I dropped my sword as I knelt down, resisting the urge to cry out. Amari roared as the tremors caused the tree to abrade painfully on his scales. Care was unfazed and bounded forward. Before Dervishi could launch another assault, Care's fist met his cheek. The merchant went flying, and his body slammed and tumbled against the hard terrain. On his knees, Dervishi threw a fit and repeatedly pounded the ground with his mace. Every strike resounded and increased each tremor's intensity. So stop it, if you keep that up! Care had to leap away before the ground nearly swallowed him up. Deep fissures appeared and split, causing the ground to distort. Loose dirt rained down from the steeper slopes. It was as if an entire region was going to liquefy. Like a spider's web, the ground around Dervishi suddenly groaned and heaved. I couldn't move, I could only watch helplessly. Wait! The merchant gawked and slipped back, but Care caught him, just before he vanished into the gaping new ravine. The mace slipped from his grip, disappearing into darkness and giving one final tremor. Care forcibly threw Dervishi onto solid ground. I slowly regained my balance, but I was determined to remain strong. Dervishi crumbled to the dirt in a supine position, and I instantly pointed my blade at his exposed neck. Oh, I really apologize about the noise, guys, although, man, that was exciting. Okay. It's over. You're nothing without that weapon. So just get lost. His forehead was beaded with sweat, and as he nodded fervently, all of his fight gone. You're just going to let him go? Use dragon remains for a weapon. Disgusting. I'm not going to kill him. And Argent Valerie is aware of what's going on. They will probably protect him. Then who could I turn to? Dervishi wriggled out from under my sword and tried to make a hasty withdrawal. Kier simply punched his lights out. A little extreme there. He not only tried to kill us, but he put his own men in danger. She just asked Elmari to eat him. I don't think he'd agree to that. A distressed roar caught our attention. Speaking of him, Elmari! Forgetting about the merchant, we hurried back to where Elmari was. Kier surveyed the situation and ran under the trunk, positioning himself close to Elmari's neck. You really don't do well on land. Elmari hissed, unamused by Kira's comment. With heavy hoist, Kira pushed up the trunk with exceptional strength. Mist formed around them. As the tree crashed back to the ground, I scrambled to Elmari's side. He was kneeling down and moaning. Elmari, are you okay? That was so reckless. I'll be fine. Oh, my neck. It's gonna be sore for a week. He's on the verge of tears. But what about you? Those injuries. I couldn't stop them. Sobbing, he clung to me, burying his head into my shoulder.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. I was useless. That was the best I could do. I patted his back reassuringly. You weren't anything but useless, Elmari. I wouldn't have survived if you hadn't come to my rescue. I felt like I didn't do much myself. If anything, the person who helped us the most was... We both turned to Kier expectantly, and he flinched from our tender expressions. He coughed and gave us a haughty glare, placing his hands on his hips. That's right, I did most of the work. Sheesh. Both of you were so pitiful.
Whoa!
Wait, what are you doing? We both embraced Kier, refusing to let him escape. Parasites! I laughed and stepped back, while Kier had to apply more force to free himself from Elmari. Remembering the box, I returned to its hiding spot and pulled it out from under the scrub. I was surprised it managed to make it through unscathed. Moments later, the other two surrounded me and peered over my shoulders as I unfastened the latch. Earth Dragon. Using our remains for weapons? Ugh. Let's bury them, somewhere away from this battlefield, in case they decide to look for them. While Kier fetched the mace, Elmari and I walked until we reached the farthest fissure we could find. Surprised by how much the region was affected by the mace's powers, and Kier worked diligently to pry the remains of the weapon. He tossed them into the chasm. Picking up the box, he emptied it over one of the fissures. He placed an open palm in the soil, and I stepped back, preparing myself for one of his abilities. The ground trembled slightly as debris and soil was loosened, filling up the section of the rupture. When it was over, I sighed, feeling utterly exhausted. I've had enough earthquakes for one day, and completely shaken up. I mustered a weak giggle while Elmari groaned. Kind humor is bad. Shaken up. Kier wiped the dirt off his hands. What now? I grabbed my knight in training badge and glanced at it. With a dismissive wave, I tossed it to the ground. Both of them were stunned. Are you sure about this? It's something you've worked for. I'm sure you could return and explain to the guild. He stopped when he saw me shake my head. No, the Argent Valerie Guild is in on this. I don't want anything to do with them, or with the knights. Besides, Dervishi has a point. The other knights will report what happened, and I'll have no chance to redeem myself after that betrayal. I'm done. I took a few steps forward and turned to them so that I could address them properly. Let's go home. Besides, I think it's something that you should inform your masters about as soon as possible. If we can't rely on the guild to build a rapport between Heavenkind and Dragonkind, we'll need another angle. We headed back to the main road, careful of the steep slope and the chasms the fight had created. The carriage was gone and we saw no other knights. Kier explained that he had managed to drive them off. That's why it took him a while to come to our rescue. Without my knowing, I started to linger behind the two, my feet dragging slower with each step. The two noticed and turned worryingly.
Are you okay?
Well, he said it. Aura? I chuckled, trying to reassure them, but tears appeared anyways. I'm fine. If anything, I feel like a huge burden was lifted off my shoulders. But it still hurts. I wanted to be a knight for years, and now I'm accepting it'll never happen. I worked so hard. My shoulders shuddered and I covered my face, feeling pathetic and worthless. I sensed someone standing before me. I glanced up. Kier glowered, unimpressed. gave me a light smack to the forehead. Ow, what was that for? Care. I rubbed the spot indignantly. Didn't I tell you this before? That it's just a title?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Knights are supposed to Knights are supposed to help those in need. I think a certain someone has already been a knight for a while. In spirit, anyways. And in the end, you did the right thing. We can't thank you enough. Thanks. As we walked, I expressed concern over being sought out, and the others reassured me that nothing like this would happen. I did uncover a potentially unsettling activity that we would need to be confronted after all. They would seek protection from the other dragons to watch over Barry, and my heart sank when they avoided the notion that they would be the ones guarding. Guess they still had amends to make. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thank you guys for watching. Wow, a lot happened there, huh? Poor Aurelie, but it's good this way, right? So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Sounds is a little strange. I love your song.
Really?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So are you. Oh my